Welcome, everybody, to another Some Money Matters Live. This is your host, Daniel Diaz, and we were supposed to have a guest, Heath Perkins, but there was a last minute scheduling conflict. So he will not be with us this week, but he will be with us next week. So in his stead, I'm going to bring on my co host, Benjamin Schaefer. What's up, Benjamin?
Hey guys, I'm glad to be here again. Lots of interesting stuff going on this week, and maybe it's a good thing. We'll give Heath a chance to figure out what the heck's going on with these markets, maybe before he comes on next week, because it's just chaos right now.
It is. It is. So you guys might be wondering, why am I dressed up in a suit? Well, we might need to end this broadcast early. I'm literally waiting for our partners in Maryland with the Sound Money Association of Maryland. We're lobbying to make gold and silver legal tender out there. The hearing started at 1 p.m., and we still haven't had our testimony. We're about 5 bills away, so I'm waiting for a text message. So I might, in the middle of the broadcast, just say, hey guys, I gotta go testify, or we might actually go along the way that the bills have been going. I just got a text message from Bet Stelfox, the chairman of the Sound Money Association Maryland. He's like, oh my god, this is so long. So we'll see what happens. But we are going to stay on topic. What's going on with gold and silver? And my partners and I in the coin shop we were like, oh my god, the Iran war happened. The first thing I woke up to on Saturday morning was, hey, we just attacked Iran. Oh my god, it's going to be crazy. Saturday was an insane day at the coin shop. We sold, we bought. I mean, we were packed the whole day. It's been pretty busy as well. And we loaded up on gold, we loaded up on silver, anticipating it to skyrocket. And sure enough, when the markets opened
Monday morning,
Sunday night, it jumped up to $100. And gold popped off. It was up $150. And then today, guys, we were at almost $200 back on gold. Silver dropped down to 79. Markets just opened. Gold's a little bit up right now at $510, and silver's up a little bit as well, 82.49. But what the heck, right? Like, everybody's wondering. They were all anticipating gold and silver to skyrocket because gold and silver is the safe haven, right?
Right, and I guess that's the thing that's tricky, right? Is that it makes us wonder. Okay, this is so unstable. We understand the situation's unstable, but I thought instability was good for price action, right? It's going to make gold and silver worth more, but there's got to be some reasons why we've seen this massive, I guess it's a spike, right? Because it did go up with the uncertainty when the markets opened this week, but it's already down a bunch.
That's called the initial war shock, right? The initial war shock actually, look, it was kind of good and bad that the war happened in Iran, right? Because the shock,
good or bad for prices, of course, right? War is always bad.
This is what I meant. So I had 24 hours just to absorb all this news. Now, if it happened on Sunday, like an hour before opening, you better believe the shock would have been in there. People would have been buying gold and silver. But it was an initial shock that it wore off very quickly because we had almost 36 hours to absorb what happened, right? It was in the early morning hours on Saturday. I mean, the Sunday open was at 5. So we had a good 36 hours to really absorb. So the shock wore off. It was an instant increase. And then what happened? Well, what happens with war is that there's inflation. There has to be spending for all the countries involved. So you have the European nations getting attacked. You have the UK getting attacked. You have Europe trying to come up with a decision on what they're going to do with the Iran war. The U.S. is definitely going to be printing a lot more currency to fund this war. So there's an inflationary aspect to the war. That triggered Federal Reserve to decide not to cut rates. Now, guys, there's a theory in economics called efficient market theory. That efficient market theory state that the markets are extremely efficient and they're going to price in future events. So what the markets were anticipating was a continuation of interest rates to stay steady or to be cut. And that was factored in. All of a sudden, we have war. And that brings us its own inflation. The Fed is either going to keep rates the way they are, or they're going to increase rates to tamp down inflation, right? So this is how it happened. The initial shock wore off because it was Saturday morning. Boom, we had an initial bump in gold and silver, it came back down. Then the Federal Reserve decided, all right, war inflation, we're not going to cut rates, we might increase rates. That triggered 10-year and 30-year yield to increase about 70 basis points. For the 10 and 30-year yields to increase like that, there has to be some major event, and that's this war is a major event. So when interest rates increase, that means people borrowing currency, creating inflation through debt is going to decrease, right?
And yet I kind of wonder, like, that might be the immediate effect. But we've already lost 3 F-15s, I read. This is, I don't know, like, we're hundreds of millions of dollars more in debt as a country in the last 48 hours.
Yeah.
And the only way to pay the debt is the same thing we've already been doing, which is to take on more debt, right? Which means that, so the federal government's going to borrow more money to make up for the money that we're spending right now.
Yeah.
It does make me wonder if, long term, right? Isn't that going to make the price of gold and silver go up, not down?
Yeah. Well, look, we're within 96 hours of the war, right? This is all happening. And the question we're answering right now is, why didn't gold and silver skyrocket like everybody anticipated? We're only within 96 hours of the war starting, right?
Right. And I understand that the U.S. government hasn't borrowed more money yet. But like you were saying, efficient market theory. I'm just a guy, but I'm thinking the U.S. government's going to have to borrow all that money back again.
Of course.
Which means, shouldn't we start pricing that in now and increasing the price of gold and silver?
That's exactly what's happening right now. It's extremely volatile right now because the markets are trying to figure it out. News like this is going to wreak havoc. The VIX, which measures the volatility of the markets, is extremely high right now because people are trying to figure out what's happening. So let me get to the next thing, right? Gold and silver is a safe haven for people like us, people who know the difference between gold and silver.
People who know the difference between assets and debts.
Right. But what's a safe haven asset for the rest of the world?
The U.S. dollar.
Absolutely. The US dollar. So people are buying treasury bonds with these yield increases. People are dumping their stocks and going into the dollar, right? Which is now strengthening the dollar. Interest rates go up, strengthens the dollar. People are jumping in, buying treasuries, strengthens the dollar. So when you strengthen the dollar, that's pressure against other commodities, gold, silver, platinum, palladium, all that. So when you factor in all these things, this is why gold and silver didn't pop off like we thought it would. Because look, if gold and silver was the only asset, yes. But there's other factors involved. There are other currencies. There's other people out there that don't see gold and silver as money. So they're going to go to what they know, the dollar. They're going to get out of the stock.
You put your money where you think on the winner, right? You put your money where you think that horse is going to be the winner. And I think everybody's looking at this war and going, well, the U.S. is clearly going to win this war.
Right.
This is also going to make oil prices go up. And this means that a lot of these other deals outside OPEC, maybe they're not as strong as we wanted them to be. I guess we better get U.S. dollars so we can get oil that's available through U.S. approved sources.
Exactly.
And, the petrodollar, right? It's all interconnected. With those prices going up, maybe the dollar itself is looking more desirable because we're the winning horse right now. Right. It's pretty clear Iran's not going to overthrow the U.S. government with this.
No, not at all. Look, long term, it's going to cause a lot of inflation. And the dollar, and gold and silver are going to increase. But look, every single time we've had a war, the same thing has happened. The first Gulf War, oil increases, stocks, gold, silver decrease initially. During the second Iraq War, exact same thing happened. Oil increases, gold, silver, stocks decrease. What eventually happens? Gold and silver will recover first because the shock of the market, the efficient market theory takes hold of the information. We're in price discovery right now. We're figuring out what's happening around the world. Look, Japan is planning on selling $630 million, I think it was, $630 million.
Well, of course, their problem is that they're actually way more in debt even than we are as a nation, right? And where is that debt? That's debt that we exported to Japan. Japan can only shoulder so much before their economy completely collapses, right? So they have to do something to shore up the yen because it's
They're going to do it to invest
Mhm.
it into their own stock market after today's and yesterday's losses. So
Yeah.
they're dumping dollars to put it in back their own stock market. So guys,
Mhm.
what we're answering today is what the heck is going on with gold and silver today. Next week, it's going to be different because we have more information. The markets are
Right.
settling, right? So our question was, why the heck didn't gold and silver skyrocket? I just answered it.
Mhm.
They're going to the safe haven of the dollar. There you have the interest rate yields because the Federal Reserve isn't going to cut interest rates anymore. They're going to keep it steady or increase interest rates. So all these factors are what is causing gold and silver
Mhm.
not to increase like we wanted to.
Right. So yeah, I guess my big question would be, can you give me some analysis on what's the difference between these short-term factors and long-term trends? Because this, just because there's one thing that's going on this week, that doesn't necessarily make a trend. It's a data point, not a trend necessarily.
Correct. This is just a short-term correction, guys, because of the news, right? And if you guys watched our interview with Patrick Kareem, and if you look at Patrick Kareem's posts, he said that look, it isn't that the news determined the markets. His theory is that the technical analysis is what is actually going to predict what happens in the future, because what he believes, and I'm going to ask him next time he's on. What Patrick believes is we saw the correction coming in the charts. We saw that on Friday. He was
Mhm.
showing that it should be a correction. He said, "Look, it should be here," but then he pulled up I think the 30-year or 40-year charts, or whenever the 80s were. How many years is that? That's 40-year charts, and he
Yep.
compared what happened to silver and the trends. Right? If we follow what happened in 1980, we should be going much lower. But he doesn't think that's what's going to happen because the capital rotation event where people are selling riskier assets in the gold and silver. We're now in a bull cycle for precious metals, which is going to last 10 years, right? Maybe 9. We're probably
Mhm.
2 years, so maybe 8 years, whatever it is. We're in a long-term bull market. So he said he's not a perma bear. He is bullish on gold and silver long term, but has to be healing, guys. The distance between the price of gold and silver and the 200-day moving average is too far apart. And what he wants to, in his famous phrases, I want to see the markets heal and have that spread between the 200-day moving average and the price of silver and gold to come closer. All right.
Right. So, in other words, that's the marker of stability. This
Yes.
moving average shouldn't be all over the place. Like, what does an average even mean when prices are changing $20 in 24 hours, like they just did?
Right.
$30 almost, it would seem, right? But it's like when things move between $100 for the high yesterday and like 79 for the thing today, the low today. That's huge. So
Yeah.
yeah, a moving average means what exactly? When you're bouncing between 100 and 80, does that mean that 90 means something, or is 90 just a passing thing as we're still trying to figure it out?
Right. So what the moving average is, it just takes the average of the price of the asset over the last 200 days and averages that out, and
Mhm.
that's a good indicator of where the price should be. If it goes below that, what you want is you want the price of the asset to be close. That's a stable thing. When it goes too high, that means it's overheated. If it's below that, it's oversold, and we want to
Mhm.
see the averages come closer to the price, right? So that's
Now,
what that
there's
means.
dealers like you who really are affected by daily prices because you're doing business every day. Stackers, I'm more of a stacker traditionally, and less of a dealer. I've mostly just been thinking I need to hold this long term.
Yeah.
And I feel like the long term equation doesn't change at all. If anything, it just makes a buying opportunity. Anytime I see the price go down to more than $5 in a day, I think, yeah, maybe it's time. Maybe today's a way to do it. Yes, yes. Just like Talk with Tiffany is saying here, right? The way things are going, dollar cost averaging while stacking is your best bet.
Yeah.
Because long term, there's no way that this war means the government saves money, right? The
No.
government is spending a lot of
Absolutely
money to
not.
pursue this. And the more the government spends, the more inflation gets out of control. So, long term, there's just no way that this doesn't put upward pressure on gold and silver prices.
No, 100%.
Short term,
Long term, it's going to, because gold and silver is the
mhm,
perfect measure of the amount of liquidity or inflation there is in the economy, right? How much currency there is in the economy. That's the definition of inflation. The printing expansion, the currency supply. So war inflation, everything that I discussed, war inflation caused the Fed not want to rates. They're going to increase rates or decrease it, which affected long-term yield bonds, 10 and 30-year bonds, which then affected the fear is where's the safe money at? People buying treasuries, increasing
So
long-term yields.
over time, like lately, it's just been a month or so. But I mean, especially if you're willing to hold for a decade, chances are pretty good your money is safer.
Yeah.
Very good that your money is safer in real assets with real money than it is in dollars.
DCA, baby. If you are a stacker, you want to start stacking gold and silver, and you're tired of the moving ETFs or whatever you're trading gold and silver, just dollar cost average in the gold and silver. Look, it's your savings, it's your money, right? So for those of you that are watching now, wondering why I'm dressed up in a suit, Benjamin and I are both going to be testifying in Maryland on HB 1312. It's a Legal Specie Act. We've been working with the Sound Money Association of Maryland that we helped them get organized to try to make gold and silver legal tender in Maryland. And we're also trying to get rid of the sales tax. It's killing the industry out there. At least 70 to 80% loss in business. They pass the sales tax. In fact, if they don't fix this, a lot of dealers are actually planning on closing down or moving their businesses outside the state of Maryland, losing the entire industry. So we're waiting to get text message from the hearing. So here's just a little fun thing I'd like to share with you guys. Government is so consistent because it takes forever for the government to get anything done. And in this case, the hearing started at 1 p.m. We are now at 6:17 p.m. and we still haven't had the bill heard because they're taking forever to get through the rest of the bills, right? So I was not expecting to be still waiting to testify at 6 p.m. So I told the guys, I'm like, listen, we'll cancel we'll leave the broadcast early, but we have to be consistent and have our broadcast every single Tuesday at 6 p.m. because we want to bring the information directly to you guys.
Well, and you know, if I can briefly touch on it, there's a lot of really interesting stuff going on legislatively. And I think that it's actually even our setbacks, I think, have been really good for the argument, good for the movement, because places like Washington State and Maryland both created these new special taxes on money that are just nonsense, destructive to the whole gold and silver industry. But what that's doing is being the canary in the coal mine, warning the other states, maybe you need to pass a legal tender act. And so there are over 100 bills we're tracking right now. States across the union are looking to recognize gold and silver as money.
118 bills we're tracking.
Right 118 now. Bills we're tracking. It's too much for you and me and even our allies to really keep up on.
Yeah, guys. What it is too, like on Friday, we have this new program that shows us when all the hearings are happening. On Friday, there was nothing happening. And then when I woke up around 8 a.m. or 7:30 a.m. Yesterday to check our tracker, there was a hearing in Idaho at 8 a.m. Idaho time. By the time I realized it was too late to sign up to hear. Right, so things just pop up last minute. Every state's different. Some states require 48 hours. We can get to those hearings in time, but other states, I don't know why Idaho. I guess they can do it same day. I don't know. It was too late to testify. So it's too much out there, and that's why we need your support, guys. If you have not joined Citizens Money, the work that we're doing is very important, not just for the individuals, but for the whole industry. Because look at what happened in Maryland. That's why we're fighting so hard in Maryland to try to get rid of the sales tax. It's killing the gold and silver industry. Most coin shops stopped selling gold and silver. All they're doing is buying from the public and flipping it to a wholesaler because they don't want to deal with the taxes. And people just aren't buying gold and silver in Maryland. It's completely destroying. So the people in Maryland are having to travel outside the state to save because they don't want to get taxed on gold and silver. So this is the type of stuff we're doing.
And of course, in a state like Maryland, where it's easy to drive to Delaware or pretty much any bordering state and have better treatment than you're getting in Maryland, what happens? The businesses just fold.
Yeah, I'm going to answer his question quick. It's HB 1312, the Legal Tender Specie Act. It's the Economic Matters Committee. We're about 4 or 5 bills away from being heard. We're both waiting for a text message. But yeah, sick liaisons, AB 1312.
Yep, and that's the one in Maryland right now that is a fairly straightforward bill. I'm pleased that that one's so simple. Simply recognizing that gold and silver is legal tender.
Right.
Sometimes just making that declaration is all it takes to just settle a question. I mean, there's good arguments you can make to courts, all kinds of things like that if you need to. But why have to go to court when your legislature can simply say, "Look, it's money.
Yeah,
Gold and silver is money. It's money in the Constitution. It's money in history." If you just declare it, then the courts will say, look, the state has already declared.
And there was a brief moratorium where gold and silver wasn't legal tender, right? No, it's always been legal tender.
Well, yeah, that's the thing that's tricky is there were restrictions on use, right? Like FDR and his famous like seizing the gold and then repricing it all. That was about controlling the money, not about it not being money.
But constitutional silver was always legal tender. Maybe not at its metal value, but definitely at the face value, right? So the argument could be that we gold and silver has been legal tender in this country for 250 years.
Yeah,
right.
It really has. It really is. And you know, which is also interesting too, because sometimes I think it's the different approach. People want to say, "Oh, well, yeah, it's at face value instead of its real value," and I'm like, that's true of anything, right? Like, let's say I run a quickie mart. I'm free to pick my own prices too. I can say, "Oh, well, yeah, this thing is $14.95, but I'll also give it to you for a constitutional silver quarter." And then all I've got to do on my taxes is say I had 25 cents in revenue, because that's what a quarter is. And what does that do? It creates this confusion in our tax code. That's why we want to settle this. But there's always been that possibility is that it's flexible on all sides, not just one side. You can, you know, it's like with daylight savings time, for example. People assume that you have to get off work at 5, and so if the state declares that 5 o'clock is a particular time of day, then that's when you get off work. Well, yeah, but your employer could always just say, "Guys, we're closing at 4 every day, or at 6 every day," depending on what they want to do, right? We have freedom, and this is what people need to understand. Because we have freedom in this country, you don't have to wait for permission. You don't have to wait for somebody else to decide that gold and silver is legal tender in your state even. You just act. Just start using it and reclaim your freedom.
Yeah, and you know, we got 2 minutes to speak and testify, and then they can ask questions, and we'll be there to answer their questions. You know, and we coordinated with Brett Stelfox, who's the chairman, you know, on what we're going to discuss. But, you know, my point today when I testify is just sharing with the legislature that, you know, 33 states have filed some form of sound money legislation, whether it's making gold and silver legal tender, getting rid of taxes, getting rid of capital gains. 33 states. And we're tracking, like I said, 118 of those states. And the reason why, two of the main reasons why we want to make gold and silver legal tender is, one, by making it legal tender, we're elevating the use of gold and silver in commerce to the same level as using Federal Reserve notes. Right now, most states don't recognize gold and silver. Only 11 states do. And we were saying, gold and silver has been legal tender for 250 years federally, right? Especially with the American Silver Eagles, Gold Eagles, Buffaloes. Those are all legal tender. Constitutional silver has always been legal tender. Pre-33 gold and silver, legal tender at the face value, but the gold and silver has always been legal tender. And the second reason is, when the state makes gold and silver legal tender, for the majority of people, that gives them the confidence to actually say, hey, wait, my state just made gold and silver legal tender, so I can actually start using it potentially with other businesses that want to accept it, or I'll say it'll encourage them to save too, right? Because the reality is around 70% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck with not $1,000 to their name. And when polled, nearly 80% of Americans said that if their paycheck was cut off, that they would have a very difficult time in making ends meet, right? And the reason why that is because gold and silver are money and protects their purchase power. The dollar isn't, and they're all saving in the dollar. So nearly 70 to 80% of Americans have no idea why they're struggling and why they can't make ends meet. It's because they don't know what money is. Gold and silver is money.
That's the Keynesian economic problem, right? Keynes wanted to say, let's make everybody spend. He says if people aren't spending, the government should just borrow and spend more for everybody, just to spend, 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 spend. And that's fine if living hand to mouth doesn't have any interruptions.
Right.
But without a good social safety net, without economic stability, with rising unemployment, and especially in certain sectors, even right now, you have to look at it and say, wait a second, you built an entire economic system on living hand to mouth. Yeah. That's the entire point, is that we have to spend all of our money. We're strongly discouraged from saving, even if we've never thought of it that way. Saving just isn't rational to save in the dollar. And so it's changed our whole culture, right? I mean, all this stuff happened before I was born, but it's true. We live in this consumer society right now where saving money isn't a rational choice. It's not a reasonable choice unless you save it in sound money. Yeah. And so I'm actually, to put a positive spin on it, I remember thinking to myself, I'm actually really privileged here. When I want to save, I save in sound money. When I want to spend, I spend in fiat money. And I can play both sides of this. I can use fiat to its strengths. I can use sound money to its strengths.
I just had a customer come in, and he inherited a bunch of gold, mostly 10 Goldens, and from his father. His father was smart. I asked him a little bit more about what he had shared with me. I'm like, your dad was smart, and he needed to sell them. And I said he did that because he wanted to do that for you. And that's the difference. Just off a tangent. Stackers stack not for themselves, but for their loved ones and protection and legacy, right? They want to pass on what they've learned because they understand gold and silver will protect their families when they're gone and pass that down. Off the tangent. So he sold about what was it, five or 7 Goldens and 2 sovereigns. 2 sovereigns initially. Then he's like, I want to sell the rest of them. I'm like, well, hold on.
Don't sell everything.
I said, that's not money. I said, that's currency. And then I explained what currency and money was. And I said, look, and I did this. I explained to him this maintains purchase power and everything. And then he's like, I got a lot more. I'm like, oh, okay. So I need to sell this to spend this. Yeah, I need it right now. Well, that's the exact reason why you do this. And that's why your dad did this. Your dad did this and passed this on to you when he passed away because he wanted you to be able to have real money available so you can pay for things you need. And he's like, after talking to you, I'm going to hold most of it. It's like, I'm going to save. I explained saving.
We were just talking about dollar cost averaging your way in.
Right. I said the stack of currency is what you spend. This is what you save in. So him and his friend said, I'm never going anywhere else. You know so much about coins. I'm coming to you from now on. So I'm like, thank you. I really appreciate that. Tell others.
That's great. But the advice you're giving them, it's basically the same thing we were talking about, right? You dollar cost average your way in to having sound money by saving what you can when you can for the long term. You try to do the same thing on your way out too, right? You only liquidate the things that you're going to spend.
Right.
And frankly, one of the best ways to handle it, in my opinion, if you can, is to spend the sound when you're ready to spend sound money, is just spend it as gold and silver. Don't turn it into dollars at all.
And then that's what I told them. I'm like, there is another way where you can spend gold and silver. You can deposit it into one of the companies like Alpine Gold Exchange or Kinesis, and then you can be able to spend it with a debit card. Like, what? What do you mean? And then they started asking me questions about Kinesis and Alpine Gold. I'm like, you can earn a yield in either. With Kinesis, you can just earn a passive yield by having your gold and silver in there, and you can spend it with a debit card. Or in Alpine Gold, you can deposit it. You can pay people within the system. Or if you need to, you can spend it with a debit card, and you can lease it to earn a yield. And they're going to be coming back and talking more about both Alpine Gold Exchange and Kinesis. But guys, there's solutions. These are 2 young guys. So young guys, they're used to an electronic system. And when they hear that they can turn their physical gold and silver into spendable gold and silver, like what we're trying to do, they get their ears perked up. And a lot more people are very interested, especially when they can get their gold and silver to sweat for them.
Right. Earning a yield is one of those things that we traditionally think that's what securities are for, right? Did you have to buy a stock? But there's still people who want to borrow your gold, and you can get that lease return on it without actually losing any ounces of actual gold. And so that's a really powerful thing when people want to borrow your gold essentially for minting or manufacturing or these other anywhere in the industry where they're actually moving the metal, in many cases, they will be happy to have you do a lease. And, here's the thing that's interesting about a lease. People look at the returns on a lease and they'll say, I don't know if that's worth it because it looks small at first, but there's actually multiple ways you earn a return on your money when you do a lease. And it's not just that interest rate. Because when we think of the interest rate, we're thinking in terms of dollars still, and we're still thinking in terms of a depreciating currency, but you're not doing that with gold. When you do a gold lease, you still have the gold, and therefore the gold is appreciating, even if it was just sitting there. Or I should say, it's avoiding the loss of that inflationary currencies naturally have. Then you're getting that return in more gold. So you've got gold being added to the gold that you already had.
Yep.
Then there's the tax benefits. This is an interesting one for me. There's some really strong tax benefits. If you accumulate and use gold, not only do some states even indemnify you for any tax losses to the IRS, but don't forget, you only incur a capital gain if you buy an asset at one price and sell it for another price in dollars. If you accumulate that gold and you just spend it like you're talking about, then you've never actually calculated a capital gain. You've not incurred one. You're simply using and circulating the money that you have.
Yep.
Meaning that these things like the appreciation in value, or the way that you've grown the amount of gold that you have, those might not actually be a realized gain.
It's an argument, because some would say,
it depends on how you do it. I can't give tax advice on this. Look, talk to someone knowledgeable about sound money and taxes before you try to figure out exactly which tax bracket you're going to fit in. But there are strategies.
Let me put my big brother hat on. My big brother hat would say, well, wait a second. You just purchased a car with gold. Whatever the price of that car was is your capital gain on what you sold the gold at, right? Based on whatever. So there is. So don't. Let me throw this up there. I don't really.
The price of the car, though.
Yeah, it was. There you go. The views of Daniel and the Sound Money guests are our own. Doesn't reflect the views of Sitters for Sound Money. What we say is not financial advice. So just want to throw that out there before you guys like, hey, but Benjamin Schaefer, the director of operations, the C4 rep, said I'm not going to get any taxes if I spend gold. So check with a professional accountant and an attorney before you go ahead and do that. But there is an argument that if you use the qualified business unit, keep your accounting done in gold dollars and silver dollars, and you spend in gold dollars and silver dollars, there is something where you might not get a capital gain because your accounting is in gold dollars and silver dollars. But
like you said, it's a little complicated. But when I think about it, what I also want to bring up is there's a whole cumulative way of looking at this. Instead of looking at it the same way as you would if you put money in a savings account, a mutual fund, something like that. It's different. It's outside the box, and therefore the amount of gain that you can actually see on a gold lease is significantly a better return than it looks like at first. If you look at it and you go, oh, they're going to give me 2% or 3%. That doesn't. I can get more than that, and I can get more than that in the market. Not necessarily, because it avoids the inflation. It adds to your gold holdings. All of those things are happening at the same time. It's all compounding.
Yeah. So put it into perspective. Last year gold went up 74%. On top of the 2% you would have gotten in a yield, whether it's Alpine Gold or monetary metals. Monetary metals, you have to be accredited investor for to do some of their yields and bonds and investments. But
for our accredited investor listeners, believe me, that's even better than a lot of the venture capital stuff they might have ended up doing with that status.
Yeah, so I'm doing some quick math. So that 2% was in fact, let me see, times. Let me do the math here. So 2% times 1.74. You actually had an effective 3.48% yield in gold because of the increase of the gold itself. So your actual yield, APY, for that gold that went up 74%, if you were in there the whole year, would have been 3.48% in gold.
And the 74%.
And the 74%. Correct. And the 74%. So that would be 77.48% return in gold. Wow. So we got a comment. Let's see. There we go. I tried to sell a car for gold. There was no buyer that knew about gold. Yeah.
That's funny. I know I bought a car for goldbacks once, but it is true that you kind of have to know the people.
Yeah, I got a customer. I got a customer right now that's trying to buy a boat with gold and silver, and he can't. So he's trying to bring it to me. It's a hefty boat. It's about 100K, and like, you got to let me know about 2-3 days in advance so I can get this currency to be able to do that deal. But I just wish more people would take gold and silver for goods and services, man. It just make things a lot easier, and it's smarter. Like, one of my former employees, he bought a gun. He did a deal where he was gonna sell the rifle for Silver Eagles, and then silver took off like crazy. It was like 50 something, then it was 70 something, and the guy honored the deal, and he just made a lot more currency value, nominal value, for doing the deal in silver than in dollars.
Right, and it's a changing in your mindset. Right? Just because it moved around doesn't mean one side got ripped off. It's still this asset for that asset. It's only the nominal value in dollars that seems to change. Now, the good news about that is you can use that to your advantage. When you see the dips, buy. When and you can also sell or work the gold silver ratio. Trade your gold for silver, your silver for gold. If things are moving. The thing that drove me a little crazy is I did the gold silver ratio trade when it got to about 40-1 gold to silver. Yeah. I traded some of my silver for gold. And I guess that was a good move because it's widened a bit. But I only did a small amount because I still keep thinking that gold and silver are going to go to 20-1 or even 10-1 if that silver squeeze really happens. Which reminds me of an earlier question we have here that I want to ask you about is what do we see going on with COMEX status if they continually have to keep shipping out? Are we still looking at a squeeze? When does that squeeze really start hurting?
We're going to really feel it when we're starting to get below, 50, 20 million, 10 million. It keeps decreasing. There's going to be a squeeze, right? Because there's more contracts out there. Look, ultimately, the COMEX, they can just say, hey, we're not going to give you the silver. We're going to pay you out.
I was going to say, does there come a point where COMEX is just like, we have no silver. We will trade only on the speculative value of the price, but we will not deliver anything to anyone because we don't even have any.
So everybody that says there's going to be a default, look, yes, there isn't going to be an actual default where they can't get paid with silver and now they're going to be, have debt against them. No, they're in the fine print of the contract is that they can liquidate and either pay you the cash value or pay you what they can pay you, right? So that's effectively a default, but it's not a silver default.
It's not officially a default, right? Because what's going to happen is they're going to write you a check in dollars. Correct. And say, hey, we didn't default. I don't know. It reminds me of the type of things that happened with the Weimar Republic or Zimbabwe or some of these other countries, is plenty of people went in to the banks and said, I owed you $500,000 on that house. And I earn $100 million a day now because inflation has made the money worthless. So here's $1 million note. Keep the change. I don't owe you anything on my house anymore.
Yeah. So
here the banks were like, that's not a default, right? That's technically not a default. Even though I only gave you my lunch money and I paid off the house with it, it's still not a default technically.
Yeah. So SG 4184. I think I know who that is. I think that might be our board member. David, maybe? I don't know. Maybe not.
I don't know. You don't want to dox anybody. I don't know.
But no, the what's the minimum to open an account that gains metals as interest? I know
one that's really, really low. That's the Alpine Gold accounts.
Yeah, what it's
you
like
can do it for like $100.
Yeah, $1 maybe.
I think you're right. I think it's even less than $100.
Yeah, it's $1 which is 1/50 of a troy ounce, which right now would be I think it's 5150 time divided by 50. But it's $103. So you can deposit
$103, which means that most of us can say, look, skip a couple of lunches if you have to, save $100 this month, put it in one of those leases at Alpine Gold. Bam, you're actually doing the long-term strategy.
And then for Kinesis, there isn't a minimum. You just deposit your money or your currency to buy gold and silver. Or you can actually send in your physical gold and silver. There's no minimum, and you'll earn a passive yield. Because
Of
yield
course,
is
the interest you're earning on like a penny's worth isn't much, but we're just saying
Right.
it's still available. This is not a minimum requirement.
Now with monetary metals, I think the minimum. I don't know. I might be wrong. Don't hold me to it, but I think it might be $4,000 or $5,000. Maybe I don't know exactly what the minimum is. Maybe it might even be 10,000. I don't remember, guys. So monetary metals, I have to look into it.
Monetary metals is a great one, though, and I would encourage all of you, if you want to learn about monetary metals, go to citizensforsoundmoney.org and use our link, because we actually have our own special page with them, our own special deal with them. So
go to Citizens for Sound Money right here on the homepage. Scroll down to the bottom, and you'll see all of our partners. Well, almost all of them. We still have to add some more. Go down the monetary metals. Boom. And if you decide to open an account with monetary metals or any of our partners, it will support our mission at Citizens for Sound Money. Open up a UPMA account, Kinesis account, Alpine Gold account. Those
are connected, but yes, UPMA is more education. Alpine Gold runs the accounts, but
right. So it's actually out. UPMA certifies now the systems, and it's really an Alpine Gold account, but you have to open it through this link. If you want some ammo monthly, you can get basically these are our partners. Check it out. Let's see. Do we have any more questions? Have you guys started testing? No, we have not started testing the VDC yet. In the US yet. No. Many stocks, as you know, soon we will be getting a call about the VDC. VDC, guys, stands for Virtual Debit Card with Kinesis. There is they just alpha, so we had an internal alpha test for the debit card Visa. There was a technical issue with Visa MasterCard, not the Kinesis, where they had to fix some issues. But this week, those of us that are on the beta program to test the virtual debit card, there's a few hundred people in the United States that are in that program. We should be getting a call, and we should be getting that. And then we can start spending our metals. So, I know to some people, not David, SG4184 is not David.
all right. We'll just have to call him something else, Bob or Bill or something.
Yeah. And let me see.
I thought it was fun. He was like, I don't know if we should call it Comex. Maybe we should call it Crimex. I know that people have been making fun of Comex for a long time because they changed the rules and it doesn't feel honest, right? The way they do it. But technically, that's the way the contract runs. And so it does make me feel like what we really need are these other alternatives. What if you go into this community, if you really join the Sound Money movement, you're going to start finding more people who are happy to buy a car for gold. Or at least use these tools, use the cards, so that we can just do more of our transactions in Sound Money. And once we do, the more we do it, the bigger the community gets, the more it'll be accepted, the more it's going to work.
Yeah, 100%. I just want to do a shout out to John Taylor. John Taylor is a customer, a client of ours. So he just started watching us just now. So John, what's up, man? Welcome to the broadcast. Let's see, Tiffany. At the end of the day, we can endure much more than we think. Frida Kahlo. It's true, guys. We can actually endure a lot more than you think. The people can push themselves to the limit. The mind is the only thing that will limit your ability to accomplish anything. And do any of your affiliates send you interest in precious metals to you so you can hold it?
Yes, actually.
Yeah,
I think all of them do. There are various, there can be the mailing fees, the shipping and handling, that sort of thing. But Alpine Gold does, I know for a fact, and Kinesis does, I know for a fact.
and monetary metals too. So when you open up an account with monetary metals, we'll get a referral fee, and then if you decide, if you get into a lease, I think quarterly. It depends on the lease, but we get a small
Some of them are
percentage,
quarterly,
a
yeah.
few basis points on the interest as well. Same thing with Alpine Gold, and Kinesis is different. Kinesis doesn't have those type of yields, but it's based on transactions. So the more you trade, the more you spend your gold and silver, the debit card, we get a small percentage as a referral fee.
Well, and as far as holding it goes, right? A lease is letting them hold it. It's letting them use it, right? You're loaning your gold and silver to them when you do a lease, and so you're not holding it. And so yes, you are incurring some third party risk. That's one of the reasons why we vet these organizations as much as possible. It's one of the reasons why we, well, for example, the Sound Money Trade Association, is starting to unify and create standards for this whole industry. Is so that we can lessen that third party risk. Holding it, of course, people feel like that's always the best thing to have, is it's in your own hands. But yes, if you're willing to let it out of your sight, hopefully these people that you are loaning it to are going to treat it with respect. And then yes, the gold that you earn in interest, you can also have delivered. And of course your principal too that you've lent to them, they will send it back to you at the end of your lease. So.
I do want to address something that Living the Dream 7714 was saying. There is a group of stackers that do not believe. Am I still there?
I can hear you.
Okay, I froze here a little. My face froze, but I'm still here. There are a group of stackers that if you don't hold it, you don't own it. They will never tokenize or digitize their gold and silver, and that's fine.
Or loan.
Listen, or loan. Like I'm a physical stacker, and I also have digital gold and silver. There is a place in everything, right? We want to bring the movement together. We want to unite the movement. I want to turn my camera off and turn it back on, see if it works. No, it's frozen. We're frozen. But yeah, look, guys, if you don't believe in digital gold and silver, fine, great. I love physical stackers.
I hold as much of it as I can myself as well. But there's convenience and other things, and I trust those tools. I use those tools as tools as well. That's all.
I just do want to point out that, for 6,000 years, we've spent our gold and silver, right? Like I get Gresham's law, good money, bad money drives out good money. I get that, right? And you want to spend your bad money. But if you have all your wealth in gold and silver, why would you put it into cash and convert it and lose premium? Just spend your gold and silver, right? Why would you put all your wealth in real money, which I've practically done? I have like 98% of my entire wealth in gold and silver. I have physical. I have digital. Why would I convert it to the dollar and lose that premium or in the negative premium when I convert it, right? My shop, we pay 96% for gold, right? For Eagles, we're paying $5 back. Why would I incur that? Daniel has gone all AI. Enough is saying. Why would I do that? I would just spend my gold and silver, right? Versus giving somebody a full ounce of silver and gold. So, it's just there's a place for everybody, right? So we're not gonna bash the electronic guys. We're not gonna bash the physical guys because we're all part of the sound money movement. We're all here to improve people's lives.
And I think that it's also important just to let the sound market, the free market, work out which of these services actually works best. And that's why it's good to have options. Yes, talk to Tiffany. Do what you're comfortable with. It's good to have options. Why? Because you know what? Sometimes these things aren't great. I know people who've lost money on third-party risk. And what you need is to let the free market work by figuring out what's the best way to get your community to function. What's the best way to get your sound money community to work? And the best way to do that, of course, is to work on it together with people. Try to spend your money. Try to spend the gold backs. Try to spend the silver bits, your constitutional silver, your Kinesis accounts. The more people using it, the more robust your local sound money economy becomes. That's just what it comes down to. That's just the only solution in the end.
Yeah. And Sick Liaison says Alpine Gold's gold-back lease is a killer deal. 10 gold-back minimum, 2% APR, 60-day termination period. Kinesis has the potential to take off at some point. I think I know who Sick Liaisons is. I'm not gonna go dox him, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, no, it's great. But I think right now there is a hold on gold-back leases. They've met their cap, so I don't think any new
Mhm.
gold-back leases are available. But they have silver leases and they have gold dollar leases, silver dollar and gold dollar leases. And they recently launched. So initially, Alpine Gold accounts were only legal tender, gold and silver legal tender, which is American Eagles and silver Eagles and Buffaloes, gold Buffaloes. But they have recently launched a
Mhm.
bullion savings account where you can actually deposit bullion as well. So this is annoying. I'm going to turn off my face
Mhm.
because and just have that showing because
Mhm.
it's just better.
No worries.
It
Well,
is what
and
it is.
we've already made it 50 minutes into this. We normally do 45. There's just a lot to talk about, and frankly, we barely even touched on all the legislation, all of
Yeah,
the things that are changing in our marketplace. Partly because we do want to talk about that price action. It's just so crazy to see silver like a meme coin, and I think again, it depends on your perspective. It's not that silver is a meme coin; it's that the dollar is a meme coin.
right.
The
Exactly.
dollar itself is just it's going all over the place because nobody knows if we're going to start a war or if tariffs are going up or down or if they're here today and gone tomorrow, if oil is going to start being traded internationally with bypassing the dollar, if central banks are going to use treasuries or not, if Japan is going to dump them or someone else is going to buy them. Nobody really knows because the US has really lost its reliability as a totally stable thing. And yet
Yeah.
the dollar still remains internationally more stable than anybody else.
100%. Hold on, let me see if I can get my
So
background back. There
so
we
you
go.
never know what's going to happen with it. And so that's it's leading us into this situation where all prediction
Yes.
models are probably wrong.
Yes, and Silver Mint is doing something very similar. They have their own. Not, I don't know if it's a leasing program. They call it something else, but yeah,
They
now
did no, they have a silver leasing program that's great because they've been churning out all these silver bits, right? Which are great for like local trade. So you can just use it as a currency. And they need a lot of silver to do it. So yes, they're offering a great deal on leases. We should have brought them up in the first place, right?
yeah,
Call the guys at local Silvermint and they'll give you a really good deal on those leases because with all the output that they're doing, you get to participate and take advantage of some of that profit. The profit margin on fractional silver right now, 10th ounce rounds, like they're producing at local silver mint, is obscene. Like people will complain, for example, that the gold back premium is too high at like 100%. But the premium on fractional silver, like 10th ounce rounds in fractional silver, has gone up like 200% multiple times in the last couple of years,
yeah.
which has really blown my mind.
It depends on who, but
Pretty bad for me. Yeah.
the silver bits, I think it's only about a 30%.
Well, and they're the lowest. They're the lowest
Yeah,
anywhere. I really liked the Aztec series from Sunshine Mint. They're really fun, but they and Golden State Mint does theirs. But the premiums are often higher. Local Silver Mint really is one of the lowest premium transactional 10th ounce silver products anywhere.
yeah, 100%. And just a quick sick liaison said that there's a waiting list, so he only had to wait
Oh,
1 week to actually add more to his lease. But that's only for people who currently have gold back leases. You'll be on a waiting
what's
list.
the K?
They
Oh,
changed it
for
from
the
gold back to gold GB to GBK. That is the new
oh,
gold back
is the K
symbol.
the end of the gold back? Because it
Yes.
ends with K. Okay, gotcha. I
Yeah, yeah.
thought GB was gold back.
Yeah, and they changed their logo too. So Goldback's been doing some revamping on some things.
Yep.
Um, SG4184, does your website offer a compare feature for all the different lease offerings? I think our webmaster will kill us if we give him something else, but that could be something we add in the future. No, we don't have
Yeah,
a.
no, but we have been working on a really great feature, which is going to be being able to compare all different kinds of precious metals.
Yes, yeah. We have a calculator and we're working on it. We've partnered with
Mhm.
Image, what's this company called? Something.
You're talking about Paul's
Paul.
tools
Yeah.
that Paul is building. Yeah, but what's his company?
It's a imaging something.
But the
IMS.
really exciting thing is going to be the way that it's incorporatable into your point of sale systems. That's really going to change a lot of things, I think.
Look, and guys, in my coin shop, look, Goldback put out a little thing comparing fractional gold and silver to goldbacks, and people love complaining about the premium goldbacks. But I'm telling you right now, I'm selling a 1/1000th gold coin.
Okay, so basically, it's one goldback's worth of gold.
Goldback.
The only difference then is the packaging, right?
Yeah, it's a NEO, the NEO
Mint. Is it
mint.
legal tender then?
It's legal tender. It's legal tender in
NEO, right? I mean, I know that's an obscure country, but
look, I'll tell you my cost. I paid $30 for them. I'm selling them for $35, and that's
$35 for one goldback, essentially.
350% premium on a legal tender coin. And as a wholesaler, I paid $30. I'm only making $5 on it. So you don't complain about the premiums of a negotiable instrument that can be redeemed for legal tender, and it only has 100% premium, right? Like, because there's literal legal tender coins out there that are gold that's 350% premium. And I have, let's see, and I have a 1/200th of a troy ounce gold round. That's what is that, a 5? Right? 1,000 divided by 5. Yeah, a 5 gold back.
1/100th of an ounce. Yeah,
it's over 100%. I'm selling them for $55. I'm selling, so that's slightly over 100%. So a round and a coin, a higher premium than goldbacks, guys.
Yeah. Well, and I know that, and of course, it's expensive just to manufacture stuff that's so small. And so that's one of the things that was driving me crazy is that people are willing. Some buyers, and look, everyone can buy whatever they want, but I'm surprised at how some people are willing to pay more for a pamp gram than a 1 gram Kinesis Aurum note. And I'm thinking, wait a second, the 1 gram Kinesis Aurum note is part of a system. It's beautiful. Those are the gram. I'd rather, if I'm going to buy 1 gram gold, I'm going to buy Kinesis Aurums.
Oh, dude, the 100 milligram Kinesis Aurums, they're beautiful, man. I'd rather have that than a gram of gold anyway. Now, I think the Aurum in that case, a gram of gold would usually sell. Right now, we're selling a gram of gold premium.
What's the difference between the PAMP and the Kinesis?
Oh, I'm not comparing PAMP. I'm just telling you what I can tell you what a Geiger goes for. 1 gram Geiger, it's a $50 premium for a 1 gram Geiger, and that's on the lower end of the retail sale. And then for 1 gram, a 1 gram bar, we're at $21. So that's about a 15% premium.
Okay, so it's going to be higher with Kinesis. That's like a 70-80% premium, but it's still a lot cooler.
Closer to 90%. No, so I mean, when you're comparing bar, but look, it's a bar functional, right? Can you functionally use? No, you can definitely use a Kinesis Aurum any day of the week. But when you're getting down to the micros, right? Because a gram is 31.1035 grams, which is 31. No, it's yeah. What am I thinking? No, I'm doing some math wrong in my head. So no, yeah, a gram is 1,000 milligrams. So yeah, it's just it's more functional overall, and you're paying for the security because the Valorum that makes goldbacks also makes Metalmark, which also makes Kinesis. So it's one company. The technology is patented by Valorum. So we've been doing this for almost an hour, which is good. We haven't gotten a text message yet from. Oh, yeah.
Is it time to go talk to the Marylanders? I hope so.
I asked any updates. He's like, still waiting. I said, wow. He's like, I know, right? Like I told you in the beginning of the show, government is just so slow at getting things done. Right. Man, and you know what? Brett Stelfox has been sitting in that committee room since 12:30. He's been there for almost 7.5 hours.
Well, I hope they at least read my letter, because if we don't get to all speak, at least I've put it in writing about why legal tender is good for Maryland and is good for America. So hopefully they'll at least read that.
And before we head off, any questions, guys? You know, we have about 75 people watching live right now, and you know, people coming in and out. So it's probably over 100 people have come in during the live broadcast so far. Any questions that you guys might have before we end this end the broadcast? Let us know. In the meantime, check out our website, citizenssoundmoney.org, and join. If you haven't joined, you can join YouTube. You can become a member of YouTube, which is monthly, or you can also join our annual membership. And we have a monthly subscription now on our website where you can pay a monthly subscription fee if you would like.
And you know, that a little bit every month, it won't hurt you much. And there's something real valuable that you're getting for that. If you join Citizens for Sound Money, you will have access to things like our metal markup tools, which helps you find the cheapest ways to buy bullion online, and access to our partners that have all these services. But also, there's going to be there's advantages behind the scenes in being part of our community, and some of the tools are going to be available only there. Now, the other thing too is if you do the gold membership, we're Kinesis has actually made it possible for us to give you silver. So that really you're not even spending $100. You're spending like 50 to support the cause, and you're getting 50 back in silver. So.
Yeah, it's 40. We're giving you a half ounce of digital silver if you join at the $100 level as a Pioneer Gold member. So, all right, guys. So if there aren't any more questions, I'm gonna do a few more seconds, maybe give it another minute. If you guys don't have any other questions, we thank you. I was not expecting to do an entire show, let alone an hour broadcast this evening, because I thought maybe we would have been called to go testify in Maryland, but we are still waiting. This is near the end. They have a deadline of February 24th to send bills over to the other chamber. Maryland's different. They go through all the bills. They have a ton of bills. They still have a budget crisis. So on the 24th, they have to pass all the bills and hear all the bills before they vote on it. They don't vote. They don't vote and pass a bill like in Florida. In Florida, you hear a bill, they vote and pass it to the next committee, and they have to go through 3 committees. In Maryland, it's 1 committee. That's it. You get 1 committee, you have to pass it. So the committees listen to all the bills, they take their notes, and the lobbyists talk to them. The bills heard the first time, and people testify. Then they deliberate, and then by the 24th, they have to send it to the other chamber, and then they do the whole process again with the bills that passed the previous chamber. So it's an interesting process. Every state, it's amazing. You know, every state is different. No state is exactly alike. Maryland's one of those states that is unique in that way. I don't know how many other states do the same thing. They are hoping that you leave so they don't have to read the bill. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Good luck. We appreciate the effort. Absolutely, Tiffany. Thank you for joining. And thank you guys always for the education. Yes, absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much. We are going to be interviewing David Morgan for this Friday's premiere. You know, David Morgan, the silver guru, is going to have some insights that nobody else in the industry will have about what's going on. He digs deep into the fundamentals. And we will have Heath Perkins next week. Heath Perkins owns a coin shop, so we'll talk about what is going on at the ground level, the coin shop owner, and see what is going on. But guys, thank you so much for listening in. We'll catch you on Friday, and then next week on the live with Heath Perkins. Have a good one, y'all. God bless.
Good night, everybody.